Hello, welcome to the Museum of Transport Greater Manchester, and I'm going to be going around the museum. Okay, don't worry, I'm not going to be giving you facts and figures and litre of the engine and all the rest of it. I'm just going to leisurely go around the museum with the video and make personal comments of buses as I found them. Now, the museum has two opening days. When I say opening days, when it was first opened, and the first one, which is on their site, says it was opened on the 4th of May 1979. However, Wikipedia then says it was opened on the 27th of May 1979. But I think everybody agrees it was established in 1977, and I've been coming to the museum ever since that day. Regular visitor, and I enjoy every visit that I come to, and there's so much to see. I usually spend about 2 hours there, and it's got an excellent cafe, and it's very well run, and there's loads of choices in there, so I usually have a cup of tea and a little bit of cake as well. So here we are, we're in the, what I would say was the 1940s area. And this has taken us back to when they had buses like the Crossley Streamliner. Now look at the paintwork on that, and this would be from the 30s. So they had a go at streamlining by painting white broad stripes on it like that. Some excellent models to have a look at. Quite envious of this one on the left. The detail is incredible. And that's an old Salford fire engine, and it's an escape, just an escape ladder. And I remember seeing that thing running around on the streets, on the cobbles in Salford, and the starting handle there, they used to have to put a long rope on it, get it to top dead centre, and then about 4 firemen pulled it, and it started the engine up. And it had 2 plugs to every cylinder, 6 cylinders. It run forever with that Leyland engine, and often it had to as well. And notice the hook on the right hand side of the chassis there, very handy for pulling things out of the mud. And here's an audio display unit made out of an old brush tram, which originally was a double-decker. Then they cut it down to a single, and it went in as a garden shed, and then it was rescued, restored to a certain extent, and then it's in the museum now, and it's been used quite extensively too. And this bus, if you start reading the little boards that they have on each of these exhibits, you'll find out that during the war it was used as an ambulance. When I say the war, I mean the 1939-45 war. I think she dates from about 1926, and some of the destination boards there. Now, that bus there, 202, that's the kind of bus that I like, and that's when they were built, you know, out of wood, coach built as it were, and then they found out that the wood only lasted about 8 years, so they started making metal frames and metal bodies. And then they found out, well, Leyland did, that when they cleaned the buses out, when it got to the staircase, when they cleaned because don't forget they were using water and bleach, it rotted all the steel. Can't win with buses, can you? But, I think that was the first national bus. Yeah, money supplied by the government to build the thing. Yeah. This used to take part in the yearly rally, the Trans-Pennine Rally. That used to be in. I remember seeing it many times. The famous 135, or is it the infamous 135? That's where you can see one bus and there might be 2 behind it. Yeah. There's the Crossley next to the Beverley's beer. That's another vehicle that was used on the Trans-Pennine Run too. Seen that with its trailer as well. And these buses are kept in superb condition, absolutely sparkling clean, and it's the same every time you go in the museum. They're always well presented, and it's a pleasure to visit every time, honestly. Unusual tow bar at the front. It's on a cantilever, so they can lift it up when it's not being used, so it won't bang into anything. That's because it's got a trailer, and he can manoeuvre his trailer into awkward spots with that. Nice paintwork on that, nice livery. And of course it's an AEC. Now it's got the full frontage, but still got a single cab. So it's a single cab driver position. And I remember in the late 40s, 1949, 1950-ish, Leyland brought out the White Lady. And I'm talking about the White Lady that had the full front. And we used to wait at the bus stop as kids, and all the other buses that were half cab we used to let go past until the White Lady came along. And then we made his way upstairs, and it had the big long bench seats, and it had a drop down trough for a footway, and on board we went. Beautiful buses. I do believe they had sunroofs as well, because that was in the days when we had sun, and I mean proper sun. Yeah. And all the different fleets with the different colours, all well represented here. And we might as well have a look at the rear end as well as the front ends, and that's the rear of the Beverley's beer wagon. And on the right hand side are some exhibition cabinets, which are part of a bequeath, and quite extensive. That's Mark out of the canteen, by the way. And they've got a lot of artifacts in there, well worth having a look at. You know, from the conductor era, when you had a driver and a conductor, and looking after people. And that's an early one. Again, my style of bodywork. Always interested in how they constructed those. Made out of wood completely, apart from the outer covering. An unusual Salford bus. Yeah, red and white. That's before they went to the green. And that one was the trainer. It had a double steering wheel, double controls. And in the 60s I had a go at that and passed my PSV. Passed it first time. And that was from Frederick Road in Salford. Yeah, it had a steering wheel at the front where the driver sits, and in the passenger compartment there was another steering wheel with the 3 pedals, accelerator, brake and clutch. And the inspector used to sit in the back and that and take you for a test. Yeah, Lucas I think it is, all those years ago. And that's going back some. And look at the presentation of that engine, the AEC, absolutely superb. What a brilliant design. And of course they were good engines. They used that engine in the army with the gun carriages. Signwriter style from those years ago, and coach painted as well. Mind you, I must admit, in this day and age, we've got people at the bus museum that paint the brand new panels, and there's a bus that's been repainted. It's been repanelled and then repainted, and the finish is absolutely exquisite. I don't know how they've done it, but I remember that front when it came off, and it was completely rotten, the wood. It's all been repaired. And now my favourite, the Crossley and it was Manchester Corporation bus number 436, and it was found in the hills of Derbyshire being used as a caravan, and then it was rescued and brought on a low loader to the museum in 2006. I remember it well, and now it's receiving all the new parts, and it's going to be rebuilt completely from the chassis upwards, and it's an incredible feat to do this absolutely full restoration. That's everything: the running gear, the engine, the gearbox, the back axle, the brakes, the bodywork, and then eventually the seating, and all the electrics will be done, and should be a running bus, and should be 100 years, I think it is, in 2034. She'll be 100-year-old, and they're hoping to have it on the road and running, and I expect they'll be giving heritage rides. 100 years in 2034. I hope I'm around to see it, but I doubt it. And on the floor here is a little sign to say that the engine that they've got there, which was out of fleet number 666, will be used in the Crossley 434. Bit ominous, that 666, but beggars can't be choosers. And we're nearly finished now in upper hall. We'll go through the double doors there, and then we'll go down into the lower hall. Leave you with the video just for the time being. And now we're coming down to an unusual little vehicle. This was a road sweeper vehicle by a company called Laker, and it was from where it was built, which was down in Long Acre, so they called it the Laker. And don't forget, in the days that this thing was running, there was a lot of horses used for pulling carts and goodness knows what else. So that had to sweep the roads, chain driven, very crude, but it swept all the debris from the road, and it had a sprinkler system for water. But behind it, you had to have people with a wheelbarrow, and they had to shovel it into the wheelbarrow. So they weren't quite sophisticated to have it all in one vehicle, but at least it swept it and pushed it into the gutter, and then somebody behind had to come along with a shovel and a brush and put it in the barrow and get rid of it. Interesting history on the company, because I think it was one of the directors, and he had a bit of a beef with the company because he wanted to develop the vehicles, because they became refuse collection vehicles, and they were used by municipal corporations up and down the country, and they didn't want to go into that field. So he broke away from the company, and the other company that he designed and started was Shelvoke and Drury. Again, a well-known name for collecting rubbish, household rubbish, you name it. The vehicles with the bins that they used to tip into the back, Shelvoke and Drury, and it was one of the directors from that company who started it. Have a look on Wikipedia, very interesting. And it occupies a little space in the museum, and I think it's worth a lot more. It needs to be described, that. However, this is another little viewing area, audio visual, and I think at the moment they're showing Manchester Corporation Transport video on an inspector returning a bus pass to a pensioner. And these were the days that they lived in. No plastic door, no plastic or double glazed windows, the old traditional. But thank goodness that they made films like this, because we've got a little snapshot into how things were in the past. Look at the uniform, tie and collar. Brilliant stuff. Just sit back and relax and watch the little videos that they've got. Very informative. Back to the Laker. I think I'm just showing the front for the name. There's the little sprinkler barn I was talking about. That sprayed water onto the floor for the horse manure and goodness knows what else. And then somebody with a wheelbarrow at the back had to collect it all. Now this was a departure into fiberglass. Look at the front on that Foden coach there. And the colours. Now when you went to Blackpool or Southport or somewhere like that on a trip, you'd have to find that on a car park along with a load of other coaches. And the colours stood out, so you knew exactly where it was. And to a certain extent with this little one that we're coming to here now, which is the Bedford OB, and this was from 1947. And if you look at how that thing developed into that gorgeous bodywork that she's got there, you know, a truly luxurious vehicle. And that door where the indicator is on the side there was opened by the driver. All he had to do was pull a lever alongside where he sat and it opened the door and closed it. How good's that? You know, no electric, no pneumatics, nothing, just a lever, pull it, the door opened, the door closed. How good's that? But a very famous front. Whoever designed that coach, whoever first penciled it out, including the radiator grille, it was so distinctive. You know, you could see it. Put it in a dozen buses and straight away you could find out where the Bedford was, just by the shape of it and the style of the radiator. Brilliant. I wonder did they draw it on the back of a fag packet? You hear all these tales that some of these things that we come to accept as brilliant were drawn on fag packets or serviettes at dining tables. Who knows? Perhaps somebody does. Two beautiful coaches, sadly no longer in running order, but they're at the museum again to see how people lived, and that's how they used to travel. Not many people had a car in those days. Those that did were very fortunate, but the rest of us had to go on a coach if we wanted to go anywhere. And these were available, and they were comfortable. And the drivers always looked after you, because at the end of the trip they always put the cap out and said thank you. So you always give them a tip depending on how they've been with you. But they were okay. Yeah. Used to pick you up at odd places like newsagents and pub corners, and then eventually get on the road. It was a big adventure in those days, and everybody enjoyed it. We used to get a sing-song or two as well. Another Crossley on the left there. Yeah, we've got quite a few Crossleys at the Bus Museum. And here's an old carrier. Again, vehicles with history. And that one certainly has, because that was rescued from the sand dunes in Wales, and that had been used as a holiday home and then abandoned, and then it took years and years and years to restore. I think it was one man's mission to get it into that condition. It's all there at the museum. When you go around, if you visit, have a read at some of these boards. The information, fantastic. And electric is nothing new. The bus behind it in red is an electric bus, Manchester Corporation. And it's a 3-axle vehicle, that carrier, that bus, 3 axles, 2 at the back and 1 at the front. Headlamps look as if they're coming from the 20s or 30s. Further on into the museum, don't forget there's 1 or 2 buses that you can actually get on board, and you can have a look round, see what the seats were like, and have a look upstairs, how we used to travel. 1 or 2 of you remember anyway, but I'm sure there's quite a few people who don't. Now the bus, the red and white bus with the fleet number 1001, was the first off the production line, and it's there at the museum, the first one they ever built of that style. And now we come to a display. This used to be a hydro bus depot for all the drivers and mechanics to learn what made up a bus. And another audio display unit, and I think here they're showing how they made the buses today, and of course it's all adhesives and resin bonding, nothing like the craftsmanship that we had years ago, but nevertheless they're producing some wonderful buses these days. That came in as a complete bus. I think it came from Glasgow, and they've chopped the front end off, and they're going to make it a little bit of a display so the public can have a look and sit in the driver's seat of a bus. Another yellow, look at the length of that coach. It far exceeds all the other buses that's in there. I don't know what length it is, but it's quite a lengthy bus that. I wouldn't like to drive it. However, we're coming almost to the end of the visit, so I'll leave you with some of the pictures and I'll come back as and when necessary. Thanks for staying so long. And now we're at the cafe. Time for a cup of tea or a cup of coffee, whichever you want. And they do light snacks and quite a good selection in there. And they've also got a couple of cabinets with some artifacts from years ago, and you'll recognise some of them. Always worth a look in. Have a cup of tea and have a good look. And then back out into the museum. There's the key, original key of the museum on the left. There's a nice display, and of course it's 200 years of the bus, which is being celebrated by the Museum of Transport. And they're having quite a few events during the year, which is 2024. And some of the old signage that used to be elsewhere in the museum. And one little corner here with a door that leads through to the archives. A very important part of the museum, I would think, is looking after all the archives, the photographs and the paperwork and the documents and the posters and a load of other things as well. Some destinations that we've all been to, I'm sure. And there's the horse-drawn original bus. And then we're on our way out, and this is the exit. It's also the entrance as well, so it's a two-way thing. More archives upstairs. That door's locked anyway. Some old boards from years ago. And a little display cabinet with one or two artifacts in it. One that I recognise quite readily is the bell push once. I remember when they scrapped all the trams, we used to go looking for those things. And the brew can for the driver and the conductor. And that's the shop. Well stocked, well worth a look. And reasonably priced too, very reasonably priced. And we're outside now on Boyle Street, and this is just the signage. And there's the bus stop where the two cars there, that's the bus stop for the heritage rides. And opening times. A small entrance for a big museum. Well, I thank you for staying with me, and thanks for watching the video, and hopefully see you next time. Bye for now.